Book reading is not just about gaining knowledge, it's way to happiness. It's path of meditation. It's a source of a beautiful life. And that's what we do in book reading session, that is BRS, with Honorable Dr. Kiran Bedi ma'am. BRS is a wonderful platform where you can connect with several young minds across the nation, enhance your learning skills, and learn about several other books.
My hobby is to read novels which help me become an insightful person. I also enjoy reading and writing poetries. I share an equal interest in Indian mythology, and alongside all this, I also like to have conversation on business management related matters. Thank you.
I've always had that creative intellect in me. I love bullet journaling, I love baking, or maybe organizing a movie night and cook some comfort food. Painting and sketching have always been an outlet for me. And listening to Taylor Swift songs is one thing I can never live without.
My hobbies are playing badminton and cycling, which I do daily just to keep myself physically fit. I also love to read majorly the works of Swami Vivekanand and also about the lives of some prominent freedom fighters like Bhagat Singh and Subhash Chandra Bose. And my favorite creative activity is art and craft. Here are some of the glimpses of the things I have made.
As a passionate student, I thrive on the thrill of quizzing, constantly challenging myself to sharpen my critical thinking skills. I actively engage in activities that allow me to utilize my leadership qualities, such as debates. Also, I'm a hardcore Taylor Swift fan, finding inspiration in her music and artistry. I'm eager to combine my engineering aspirations, leadership skills, and love for intellectual pursuits to create a brighter future.
Good afternoon. When it comes to hobbies, I really love spending my time reading. From fiction to non-fiction, I believe books are my best friends. Also, devoting an hour of my life every day to solving little math puzzles and patterns is a must in my life. I also like to take care of the small potted plants at my house while listening to soft Hindi music every now and then. Thank you.
My hobbies are playing chess, swimming, and reading books. If I were to pick one of my favorite hobbies out of many I have, I will definitely pick gardening. I love nature, that's why gardening gives me pleasure. I like planting new plants and watering them daily morning and enjoy seeing flowers blooming in plant food.
My favorite novel is Ram by Amish Tripathi. This novel portrays Lord Ram in human form and tells us how an average human being can rise to become a great leader and has the potential to drive masses out of deprivation and their sufferings. Thank you so much, everyone.
My favorite book is Lectures from Colombo to Almora by our youth icon Swami Vivekanand, which includes the lectures he gave in and after 1897 in Sri Lanka and later on in India. This book gives a keen insight into the Vedanta philosophy and also tells us about the greatness and the glory of our Indian culture.
Hi, I'm not a hardcore reader, so I would say my favorite book is yet to be discovered. But as of now, I have a very cliche choice, the Harry Potter series. Because on the most stressful and gloomy days, when I need that one escape from reality, it is there for me.
Life is too short to live in a way to convince other people that you're worthy. This quote is from one of the best reads of mine, What a Time to Be Alone by Shidera Eguru. In a world that tells women that we are either not enough or too much, this book tells one to stop directing our anger and insecurities onto ourselves and start fighting back to reshape the toxic structures of a patriarchal society.
Good afternoon, everyone. Being an avid reader myself, when it comes to books, I've got a lot of favorites, but my current favorite would definitely be The Boy in the Striped Pajamas by John Boyne. The story leads us to the cruelties of World War II with an innocent and childlike perspective of a 9-year-old boy, providing us a beautiful yet tragic peek into the cruel and shameful history of mankind. Thank you.
My favorite book is Bhagavad Gita. It is one of the greatest books in the world. One who understands the Gita understands much about this world and beyond. It sums up the whole philosophy of life and death. This book teaches us to never be disheartened in the face of great perils. Thank you.
जय
Oh,
थारी माँ,
nice.
जय थारी माँ। जी जी
Very nice.
जी, आइए जुड़िए, सब जुड़िए। ये हमारा 119th सेशन है। तकरीबन तकरीबन 5 से 6 बच्चे, ब्लेस्ड बच्चे हमारे साथ जुड़े हैं। तो इट्स बीन एन इनक्रेडिबल जर्नी, 119 सेशंस एंड ऑल द ब्लेस्ड चिल्ड्रन हु हैव जॉइंड अस। जी मम्मी, बात करें आप इनसे। पहले they introduce themselves and then
Trying to straighten this. I can't see it from the camera. Yeah. Can
you want to
move
take a
it?
minute? You want to take a minute?
No. I'm just trying to comb my hair.
Yes. Ji. So they're going
Can
to
you
talk
stop?
about themselves. Let mommy take a minute. You all are big children today. Yes, great.
Hi, children. I loved your introductions. Good evening, all 5 of you, all bright children from the DPS school. I visited you. Was it last year?
Yes, Ranipur, Haridwar. Ji.
Yeah, it was very, very nice. What a wonderful school you have. Very great infrastructure, wonderful principal, great teachers, great infrastructure, great greenery, everything going very good. Look at the playgrounds you had. So, aren't you lucky to be in such a good school? Also, so close to the Ganges. Mhm. So, welcome to our school, to the a composite event where all the school children of one school are joining in. I want to thank your school for having allowed you to all come and join us here. I have your questions. I've seen your books you read. I've seen the activities you're involved in. You had to be. In fact, what you're doing, what this program is encouraging is to say this is the right way. You even asked, one of you has asked a question, your passion. You are all finding your passion. When you are into activities like that, that's where you are being passionate about, isn't it? And the definition of passion is, where do you spend your energy without being asked to do? You're doing what you like. Advait is reading the Bhagavad Gita. Advait, did your parents tell you to read it?
Um,
Did your parents ask you, Advait, to read the Gita,
yes,
or you're
ma'am.
reading it on your own?
I read it on my own.
That's being passionate. Whatever you do and you invest your energy in without being told to do is passion. I'll address your question as it comes, but I believe we have shared the questions with all of you, all the 6 of you, whatever you asked the questions. Good. I'm going to get the answers from you too, while I can contribute, but you will tell us the answers because you're all great thinkers. Your school is actually making you be very creative and thinking. So, Saina, what would you like to start with?
Mommy, you want to start the questions, answers, because then you can have a discussion.
I think I'm going to start with the questions were very interesting. So let's bring in with Shreya. Shreya Kanwal. What's your question, Shreya?
My question to you is, as someone who is fascinated by AI's transformative potential to shape our future, I would like to ask, how do you see AI impacting the relationship between law enforcement agencies and the communities they serve? And What steps should be taken to build trust and address any potential biases or discrimination in AI systems?
Okay. I know you also have the answers, but I will give you the answers in the end and fill in the gaps. Let's take a round. Shreya, you've all heard Shreya's question? All of you have heard it? Okay, let me begin with the answers as they come. Go ahead. Sanskriti, what's your answer to this question?
Ma'am, I believe artificial intelligence is a very important factor and it's going to be a very important part of our world in the nearest future. But at the same time, I do believe that nothing adds to the way human essence does. And even though AI will have a huge positive impact on the world, there lie many negative impacts to it. So we should rather control it and try to use it in a way that it is our help, it is our aid, not something that is controlling us, rather.
Okay, Advait, what's your answer? Listen to each other, and then you can carry forward from. You may agree, you may respectfully not agree. I think there's nothing called not agreement on this, but add to this. Okay, Advait, you can add to this. You can all add to whatever has been said before.
Yes, ma'am. I think, ma'am, AI can shape the future. Uh, AI can be very helpful in the future, but
Yes.
we should be
Yes.
careful in using it.
Okay. Give me any example of where artificial intelligence is already being used. Any example which comes to your mind where AI is being used and you don't even know that you're using it, or you seem to be using it. Advait, any idea?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me.
Ma'am, in Google searches it is AI, and in Google Assistant it is AI.
Yes. When you type your phone and there is an autocorrect, what is it?
Ma'am, it is AI.
Yes. That's a that was one of the very early signs where you were being autocorrected, isn't it? Advait?
Yes,
But I
ma'am.
think I'm going to share with you some very important tools of वो paper मुझे दे देना. I will share with them the softwares. Okay, Anshuma.
Good
Your
evening.
answer.
Ma'am, I think AI has been a great boon to the humans in general. And
Yeah,
during the pandemic, we clearly have seen that it has helped in many, many ways, especially in the educational sector. But I think AI is somewhat making this place uh, lonelier, as we see that our parents used to meet and socially interact with each other. Nowadays that thing has reduced. We generally chat with each other. And what one thing I found really creepy was that now you can even chat with AI, like you're chatting with robots now. So it's making us lonely.
correct. All right, next one.
Good evening, ma'am.
Navya.
Ma'am,
Mhm.
since Shreya typically, good evening, ma'am. I think that she typically asked about law and order particularly. So I think there are like two ways in which AI can help, because compared to physical monitoring, AI monitoring is like far better if we want to maintain law and order. Like policemen cannot monitor every point of the city, but cameras can, AI can. And the second thing would be like, when we talk about justice system, there is a lot of data handling required, and the physical data handling is quite hard, and it's not efficient at all. We see like there are loads and loads of files which are never opened. So if we use AI for that situation, that purpose, like data collection and management, that would be far more efficient than what we are like currently doing it. But I do think that AI cannot replace like lawyers or policemen or judges at all. It's like an assistance is all it is. It can be in the future as well. That would like what I would say.
मैंने उसको एक न्यूज़ क्लिपिंग दिया था ब्रेन मैपिंग का, वो मुझे ओरिजिनल न्यूज़ क्लिपिंग चाहिए, उसने टेबल पे वो इधर नहीं लाई. I want the news clipping. Just get it. It must be on your table. And to tell them about the brain mapping, which they did. Thank you, Navya. Nityansh?
Yes, ma'am. I mean, like Navya Didi said, it can help in data handling and monitoring. But I think like there's an upsurge of AI nowadays, like the Chat GPT. But it can't solve cases. This is the most important thing. It can't think. It doesn't have the problem solving skills or the critical thinking skills. AI doesn't have all this. Like if even we'll ask it some new questions, like even if we there was a few days back the JE advanced exam. So if we'll ask it questions related to that exam which was asked in it, it can't solve any of the question because those were new questions. So the older questions which are already on the internet, it can handle those questions, but I think the newer questions it can't handle. It can't help in better administration.
Okay. Shreya, yours? Shreya, what do you think? Have you got the answers? What do you think? You must have read about it. You must have prepared yourself. Or are you only asking a question?
No, I have equipped myself about it a little bit. So my take on this would be, I think AIs have a certain kind of restriction, because when it comes to ethics and when it comes to building trust within a community, because it is very hard for a human to trust a machine. I mean, you can have it do your work, but to make decisions that can be sometimes life altering or life changing, I think we are not going to rely on them completely as of now. So, as to what Navya said, I agree with her that when it comes to large data handling and analyzing volumes of data and creating connections between law enforcement agencies and drawing out maps, there it can be helpful. But when it comes to this aspect, the critical aspect, I don't think AI can ever replace human emotions.
I have a piece for you. It was in yesterday's paper. In fact, interestingly, your question came, and I was reading this paper. This is page 22 of June 18th paper, the Sunday, yesterday. It was about this article. Heads up, how brain mapping tests mind of crime suspects. See this? Got it? Now, this has been on for many years. This is one of the technology tools. This is a technology tool which has been used over a period where, first of all, brain mapping cannot be done without consent. You take the consent of the accused and with the permission of the court. And where there's no eyewitness and a murder has happened, but there's no eyewitness. In crimes, there are people who confess their crime and you get the evidence on the spot. So there's enough evidence to get it narrated. But there are situations where there is not much left, confession is not happening, there is no eyewitness, and the man keeps denying that he hasn't done anything like this. Right? Now, this is brain mapping, which has been used selectively, is now also getting linked with more and more of artificial intelligence. How? The person who is the accused, if he has been arrested in the past, the artificial intelligence also now does face detection. So, and where is it coming from? Data. Whenever a person is arrested, his fingerprints and his photographs, etc., are taken. That is added into a data bank, and the data bank scores through all that through the data. You mentioned, some of you mentioned the data. It scores through the whole data on face similarities, and it identifies him that he's the same person who may have committed a particular crime earlier. Number one, it tells you the character of the person if the person has been on record earlier. But beyond that, many years earlier, America was ahead of our time in doing hotspots. It's called hotspots, where so much earlier, I remember during my time, you know what we were doing? There was no artificial intelligence. There were no computers also. But what was happening is we used to have a map of Delhi, map of our district. Supposing my district was like this, then we were pointing the little. Remember, there are pins which have red and green heads. So we used to put these pinpoints there, and suddenly we used to find why is this Sangam Vihar or Kirtinagar or particular area, whichever you want to mention, you are going on putting these these red pins all the time, and you suddenly realize these thefts are coming from this area, or people who are committing thefts are coming. This is where the crime is happening. This is the cluster from where these people are coming. Now, instead of you putting the pins, when you feed the FIRs, and today FIR now is also electronic. So now it's all going electronic. The area is also going into the data. The complainant is also going into the data. The name of the accused is also going into the data. And it's starting to, the algorithms are now identifying hotspots. And it's also giving you the background of the person concerned. And if there's a person mentioned in that, you also get to know whether he's been arrested before or he's been involved, or if there's a case under trial, what is the date under trial. See, or instead of going through huge amount of records all the time, some of you mentioned the judicial records, now you are saving time in identifying, in understanding, in narrowing down the spot, and whether it's coming from a crime prone areas, and what the modus operandi. Then there's another way, is how did the crime happen. The modus operandi also, you don't even know, but the burglaries happened by breaking the lock. So you go back and data add breaking the lock from this area. Anybody in the past who's done this, you get a list. So all this is data, but also artificial intelligence, which it leads to critical analysis. It also analyzes and narrows. Now that analysis was our time consuming. Let's look at cameras. Let's look at CCTV cameras. What is CCTV cameras? CCTV cameras is also auditing it. You are recording right now. I'm recording your whole. Supposing I'm totally recording you completely, but in that recording, there's something happening behind as an incident, and I, in the end of the function, I look at the whole thing and I realize something was moving behind. What was it? So I can see zero down on that and then audit it and to find out what happened there. So it audits you. It also makes a PPT for you, PPT already for you. The CCTV camera now has softwares which also does critical analysis, spot analysis, backgrounds, and even link it with anything in the past. Like in the prison. In the prison, when there is a camera on, camera is watching. But there's a software today, which is artificial intelligence, which is clearly watching. And as you zoom in, you start linking the past with the present, that this person was moving up and down his barrack and his room for what? What did he have in his hand? Who was he meeting? He had this, and then he zooms down to find out what was in his hand. So it's the point here is the tools from artificial intelligence. Number one is predictive policing. It is also used in technology stoppages, biological face recognitions, predictive risk assessments, and also detects and anticipates crime, also solves crimes in many, many ways. Brain mapping is one of them I thought I'll share with you. This piece, have a look at this and read this carefully. It's in the absence of an eyewitness, BOS alongside psychological profiling, polygraph, and narco-analysis are of great value in scientific reconstruction of evidence. So it's called the BOS. The BOS means brain mapping or fingerprinting. BOS stands for, let me give you the name, brain electrical oscillation signature. BOS is brain electrical oscillation signature. But all your Google, all your chat GPTs are all artificial intelligence. The point now in your Googles and chat GPTs is what you ask. It will give you what you ask. So if you ask rightly, it will give you correctly. So it's saying this is a crime which has happened. This is the FIR. This is the crimes which have happened in the past. This is the age group. This is the modus operandi. Can you check the records? as to who could be narrowed down. So ChatGPT will narrow it down for you. Go back to your camera records, and you can also. So this way, artificial intelligence is a very valuable tool now. Now, question is, now we have somebody saying how credible and reliable it is. Of course, it is one of the tools. It's not. It's not. It's not final. You have to link it also with other evidences, but it's a roadmap. So therefore, artificial intelligence today, like the cybercrime, money laundering, all the tracking, blockchain, all this is now linked with. I'm going to show you some softwares which have also further come. Let me see the phone. Best 12 artificial intelligence tools in 2023. I only talk to you about crime, but let me give you other 12 best artificial tools in 2023. Number one, it solves anything, is ChatGPT. It writes anything, is Writersonic. It generates code, it Replit. Generates video, it's Synth. Generates music. So all these generates TikToks are. This is another thing which I'm going to ask you to be forwarded by Shakira. I've sent this to Shakira. It will come. I think Shivani will forward this to you. You can go to these little artificial tools and practice these. You need to all now be ready with artificial tools as they come in different areas. Now, essay writing can be copied from ChatGPT, but now there'll be a tool to know whether it's copied or is it your own. That will be also judged out. So when you read chat gpt, it's like a research. It's like a Google. When you ask a question, Google gives you the answer. Similarly, chat gpt, when you ask it an issue, it gives you an answer, but that doesn't mean you copy paste and send it. There will be now tools to see clearly whether it's been copied, whether it's fake, or whether it's got copyrighted. But all these are separate tools. So from as far as crime, law and order is concerned, it's predictive cameras, it's data entry, it's past records, it's face recognition, voice recognition, video recognition. All these are very vital tools now for law enforcement. Similarly, when you do crowd control, similarly, cameras, when it crowd control, is just zeroing down who all are there. And it starts saying, hey, this is the person who's been involved in past demonstration. This man is a professional demonstrator. So you narrow down. Earlier, we used to do color water by the shoots of the from the brigades, fire brigades. Pipe we used to use and shoot, circulate color water, so that anybody who has a color water, it's blue or a pink, that means he was present in that assembly, unlawful assembly. So earlier it was manual. Now, along with this manual, you can also do the camera recognition, by which you know who was present, and then he cannot say, I was not present in an unlawful assembly. That makes life much easier for a law and order issue. There you can say who was present. He cannot say I was not present. Earlier, his color was blue, so somebody could say no, somebody got it made blue. Now the camera will recognize you and start looking at. So therefore, remember as youngsters that today, when you are walking on the streets, like the traffic cameras walking, it's artificial intelligence. Traffic cameras also reduce, telling you where traffic congestion is. The GPS is telling you all by artificial intelligence which route to take and which route not to take. So today, technology is being used, whether it's traffic management, whether it's crime prediction, whether it's crime detection, while it's also sometimes brain mapping, so that if you don't have any eyewitness, you can understand. Now, how does brain mapping work? Because it's very interesting. In brain mapping, you are feeding certain things into the computer, and the person who is got nodes, like when you check the blood pressure, you're checking, you have these nodes. So in the nodes, he is listening to the camera, to the computer voice, listening to the camera voice, that I used a knife. So the word is knife. It's going to the brain, and if the word knife touches the brain cords, the brain can't start fluttering. But supposing the man had nothing to do with the knife, right? Suppose he's been murdered by stabbing and use of knife. Those who are the accused, the brain starts fluttering on listening to the word knife. Whereas person who's not done the stabbing, the brain does not flutter for knife. See, so basically this is nothing but all your brain is a very intertwined. If you're students of physiology, then the brain is nothing but all wired up, but in those wires these things are registered, and it flutters because it's got reminded that there was something called knife. Now, that knife is then getting linked with the person concerned, place, timing, etc. And that's all a package coming for artificial intelligence. There's no end to this anymore, and without it, the complexity of crimes will be very, very difficult to unravel, particularly in financial crimes, frauds, money laundering, all these things. So, therefore, this is your first. I thought I'd give you a detailed answer of this question because all I'm trying to repeat for you, stay up to date in latest on artificial intelligence and use it as a research tool. Use it to also learn the art of usage, like videos, read research essays. They will do the research for you, but that means that's a base, like the Google answers for you. You don't stop at that. You the books, which books to refer to, it'll tell you, but then that doesn't mean you don't read the book. You read the book. So I thought, Shreya, thank you for asking this question, because this is enabled. But what I've noticed here is that I do not know. I think a time that your school or your class probably now needs to have a class on artificial intelligence on a regular basis. If you have it, it's excellent. If you don't have it, I'm sure the DPS principal, who's a very good friend of mine, a dear friend of mine, would start this artificial intelligence class probably from the standard 9 and 10. Till then, nothing stops you from researching on your own. Whether in even in documents, even common man's benefits, all the documents today, supposing I want to do a startup and I do not know, and I don't know English. Now there's a software as intelligence data is that I say मुझे स्टार्टअप खोलना है, मैं इस गांव की हूँ, मैं हिंदी बोल रही हूँ, गांव की हूँ और मेरे पास पैसा नहीं है, मेरे पास स्कीम कहाँ है, गवर्नमेंट की स्कीम कहाँ है, मैं स्कीम ढूंढ सकती हूँ. आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस विल टेल यू बाय डॉक्यूमेंटेशन ये स्कीम है, ये इसकी मार्केटिंग ये है, इसकी प्राइस कॉस्ट ये है, इसकी और जो पैराफर्नेलिया है, जो उसकी हेल्प चाहिए, इसकी बायर ये है, बिक सकता है ये, कैन गिव यू ऑल अ पैकेज. सो इवन डॉक्यूमेंट्स फॉर अ कॉमन मैन, उसके केस के बारे में, उसके बिजनेस के बारे में, स्कीम्स के बारे में, लोन्स के बारे में, ये सब चीज उसको आज मिल सकती है. और लैंग्वेज में टुडे इट्स बाय साउंड, also by voice. So all these things latest, as students, the more you know, the more up to date you will be, because you will be driven by artificial intelligence all the time. You understand, Sanskriti? What's your takeaway from whatever I've explained to you?
Ma'am, I realize that artificial intelligence can be of a great help in law enforcement via brain mapping, which would help us identify potential criminals. And then we have surveillance cameras, which can identify the people. Then we can do a better crowd management with artificial intelligence, and so on.
Correct. The polygraph does that, but the CC earlier used for polygraph has been used for a long time earlier. But these are all new techniques which are being used. But every day there's a new discovery of an artificial intelligence. Therefore, I urge you students to stay up to date and have, I'm sure your principal and your school teachers will arrange regular classes for you on called AI class, and saying up to date, and ask you children, tell us what is the latest. And you people are sharpest to understand this. And then you can say, I read this and I found this and I use this. The other day, I was asked to speak on education. And what did I do? I went to ChatGPT and I asked, what does Gita say on education? What does Bhagavad Gita say on education? And it said something very interesting on value system. And I asked it questions, and then the ChatGPT said, "You're asking too many questions. Be patient." It even said that. And then again I asked the question, I didn't give up, it again answered. Then I asked the chat GPT, that why are these values not being practiced in today's world? Then he says, the chat GPT said, it's beyond my control. It's beyond my syllabus. So it's not commenting on now, it's only recalling you what is already written. So it is not giving you any bias and it's not giving you any personal opinion. It's only giving you what has been fed, which is the entire Bhagavad Gita, and it traced the probably keyword education. जहां जहां भगवान कृष्ण ने शिक्षा दी, वैल्यू सिस्टम दिए, उसने वही निकाला. But that was a takeoff for me. That even so, I could now, instead of going through the whole Gita looking for education value systems, Chat GPT got me those relevant those verses, and I could then use them in my presentation. But the way I collated it was entirely my lookup. So this is how today you can use artificial intelligence intelligently. All right, next question. Next question, Sanskriti.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, my question to you is what are some of the most important skills you believe one should develop in their lives?
I'm sure the answers would be varied, Sanskriti. Yeah, but let's see what Advait says. Advait,
Yes, yes.
what do you think the most important skill you think one should develop?
Ma'am, communication skills.
All right. Uh, Anshuman,
Ma'am, I think morals and ethics should be the topmost priority for a person.
okay. Navya, what do you think, Navya? Which are the most important skills one should develop? Navya? Okay, Nilansh?
Yes, ma'am. I think these are the skills like leadership skills and communications skills are also important from one side. But I think what should be cultivated in our youth time, the most important are strength of character. Like one should be selfless. One should like to try to endorse some of the virtues like righteousness and love. Like this all, I think.
Shreya?
I think one of the most important skills for us to develop is emotional intelligence because that will ultimately help us to navigate through social interactions and build meaningful connections and resolve inner conflicts as well as conflicts around ourselves.
See, if you mentioned Saina, what do you think? What are the most important skills one should develop?
You know, obviously these are tough times that we are calling things like strength of character and righteousness and ethics and values a skill. Obviously these are tough times, but and it's painful for me as an elder to be saying this, but in today's time and age, develop integrity. I think the core of everything is integrity, and you have to develop it. These are the times we're living in, so develop it. These things were understood. These core values and skills, what we are putting in the bracket of skills, is who we are meant to be. But these are tough times. Develop. The core of everything is integrity. Ji.
The core of everything, to my mind, is your mind, is your mind management. If you can develop the skill of mind management rather than mind managing you, You managing the mind. And once you start managing your mind, all everything right follows. Because your mind, if is under your control, then you are on track. But if the mind is not in control, then you are emotionally disturbed, your character is loose, you don't have these habits, your communication goes awry. But if your mind management is in your control, so that basically means spiritualizing your mind. Moment you spiritualize your mind, you will be doing the right thing without being watched. You will do the right thing not being watched. Doesn't matter. Doing the right thing even when you're not watched. That means you're doing your duty rightly, not because your teacher is watching you, or parents are watching you, or the camera is watching you, or the examiner is watching you. You're doing the right thing. And all other things fall in place. So, the best way with children, in fact, at this age, while we all elders, some of us have learned it hard way, you can learn it the easier way. And for this, the youth is not giving any time, is mind management. You are bombarded with so much of information, books, examination, tests, knowledge. It's all mind management. Even your, as Shreya mentioned, emotional intelligence, mind management. It's all anger, or love, or hatred, or compassion, or forgiving. It's mind management. So it's in the mind. These thoughts are in the mind. So how do you ensure that you watch your mind? And from your mind, conduct comes, speech comes, behavior comes, deeds come. The body follows the mind. Your mind tells you get up, mind tells you sleep. Mind tells you do this, mind tells you don't do it. You are making choices. But who is your master? The mind. Now you might just say, my heart. Yes, mind and heart are, see, within the mind is the brain. The mind is something more nubile. It's got the heart in it. It's all emotions, it's all the mind. And by the way, the mind is also in your guts. When you get hungry, then your mind is telling you, but it's actually the noise is coming from your guts. So don't ever think that the mind is not in your heart and in your guts. Mind is also in your gut. So if you keep your gut clean, your mind is also at ease and your body is at ease. So there is a mind which is thoughts. So if you can do thought management, you are a spiritual mind, and spiritual mind does not go wrong. So if you ask me what is the most important skill which you think you should develop, is the mind management. When do people go to prisons and go wrong? Is when they lose their mind. I lost my mind. Oh, I did this because I lost my mind. I did this wrong because it just did not strike me I was doing something wrong. Which is it? Mind management. What do you think, Ashuma? Anshuma?
It's very true, ma'am.
Which we are not. Now, the question you might ask me, but ma'am, how do we do it? How do we do mind management? We now know that mind management is critical. It is by reflection, by contemplation. So, reflection and contemplation on a regular basis, also called self audit, where you sit down quietly or being awake, but you're also thinking, why did I do something wrong? I must self correct. So, it's autocorrect. So, you can have your own intelligent systems of autocorrect. So, if you children at this age become very sensitive and aware of your mind, there's laziness coming in the mind, and there's energy coming through the mind. Your self regulation is coming through the mind. Your wastage of time is coming through the mind. Mind is giving you choices. So, children, mind management could be a very important subject in running in the classes. Is how do you train your mind, how you talk, deal with your mind, how do you respond to your mind, how do you make choices from the mind, and how do you audit your mind. Another way which I heard a very good learned teacher speak about mind management was, he says every day before you sleep, recall your day for 10 minutes. Quietly sit, recall for 10 minutes what did you do during the day. So go through the scan your day. It's like scan your hours and say, oh, I had this in the breakfast. And after that, I did this. After that, I did this. I met so and so. I said this. I today studied this. I liked this. But I wasted this. Or I did very good thing. All good and bad, or right or wrong, all recall for 10 minutes before you sleep. It's called the mind audit. That comes through reflection. That means sitting quietly before you sleep is like a wrap up of the day, revision of the day. It's mind revision of the day. And that's contemplation, that's meditation, and that's called mind audit. So that's my friend, the best important skill. If you learn that all your qualities which you talked about, communication, integrity, which Sana talked about, communication, all this emotional intelligence, as you said, it'll fall in place. Mind management will take you to healthy management, because mind will tell you exercise, mind will tell you do your yoga, mind will tell you go for a walk, mind will tell you don't overeat. Mind. So mind, that's why God has kept this at the top of our body. He's not kept it under, he's kept it as a sartaj. So that's why the mind is the sartaj. Yeah, who is the ruler of the rest. Mind rules you. So mind tells you to do this, and mind doesn't tell. You're tempted to pick up something, and the mind tells you it's not the right thing, doesn't belong to you, don't pick it up. And yet, what do? You shut the mind and then take it. And later on, the mind tells you, hey, you didn't do the right thing. But mind tells you. So if you do this, Sanskriti, this is my answer. Sanskriti? All right, Nilansh, your question.
Yes, ma'am. And my question is, ma'am, according to you, what should be the ideals that the youth like us should keep in front of us so that we can develop ourselves in the best possible way and also can contribute the most to our country, being
You
selfless?
see, I think this answer question follows what I just now said.
Yes, ma'am.
Today, sense of responsibility, if it comes in the mind, in the youth, sense of responsibility, responsible behavior, there'll be one person after the other, an asset to this country. Responsible behavior. And a responsible youth will be such an energy for 1.4 billion, within 1.4 billion, rather than saying, why should I do it, you do first. No, no, I am responsible for myself. To my mind, the idea, if every youth starts saying, I remains gifted. See, anybody who's gifted with good health is gratitude. Remember, all these five senses are gifts of nature, they're wonders of the world. And if one is grateful for those wonders of the world, and then becomes responsible, how does he use the indriya? As Bhagwan Krishna told Arjuna, ये इंद्रियां हैं, ये घोड़े हैं, इनको गुलाम रखना है, नहीं तो ये all directions भागेंगे. So if you keep this five indriya in your hand, and these are your five horses, and you're riding them well, then you will see right, you will think right, you will hear right, you will touch right, you'll feel everything will, you'll taste right, everything goes right out of sense of responsibility. So responsibility for your five senses is the key. Okay? Okay, Nalash?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Advait, your question.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, as a civil servant, what were the qualities that helped you to be honest?
Simply, very simple. For me, remaining honest at work was very simple. I was answering my own conscience before anybody else tells me. And what my conscience tells me, I've taken up this duty, I have to fulfill it to the maximum. This is my responsibility. And therefore, nobody needs to tell me, ठीक से करो. It's my choice. If I've chosen to put on my uniform and serve the people, I have to serve it with justice, with integrity, and not treat it as a business of give and take. So nobody tell me to do this or do that. I've written that the law is written. I have to follow the law. I'm a law enforcer. Even in the interpretation of the law, my duty is to do justice, not injustice. So the qualities that helped me to do my work was my own sense of responsibility, my own answering my own conscience. And that comes when you're young, this age. That's why we do these book reading programs, and that's why your school has encouraged you to come to basically instill this and learn it now. If you learn this now, nothing stops you from being happy all your life and being credited, being recognized, and earning a great reputation. It is your own sense of duty. So, as children, as youth, when you develop your own sense of duty, you are already moving towards being a good citizen. And being a good citizen who's skilled, who's at work, is all going to follow because all of you will be skilled to earn for your living. But you will make a life and not just earn a living. You'll make a life and you will turn lives, you'll transform lives, whomever you deal with. Isn't it? Advait? Okay, Anshuman.
Yes, ma'am. Were you always this passionate about your career, or some specific incident change your outlook towards life in general?
I don't think I've been incident driven. It's not an incident which changed my life. I think it's been a very holistic growth. When you develop holistically, it's not an incident which changes you, but you holistically observe things around you and become sensitive to issues. And you keep becoming more and more sensitive and learn from others' mistakes. So I think it's a holistic growth which helps you. Incident becomes one more lesson to learn. It's like growing healthily, holistically. If you cannot say which part of the food, ma'am, did you get healthier by. I'll say I had my right kind of breakfast, and I had my right kind of lunch, and I had my right kind of dinner, and I slept. So tell me which is the thing which made you healthier. I would say holistic health. I would say all my meals right at the right time, in the right amount. Can I say no? Dinner was more, lunch was more, breakfast was more, or you take out one meal that much less. So if you spend your day holistically, well managed time, well thought through, enjoyably, gratefully, spiritually, that's called holistic growth. Holistic. I think I'm a product of a very intensive holistic growth. Okay, Navya.
Mom, as
Navya.
like until 12th class, we have been blessed by very, very wonderful teachers. But now that we have passed our 12th and we move on to college and subsequent the working world, there are like too many stories we heard from our seniors about like conflicts with instructors, conflict with superiors at work. I want to ask for your advice that if we are in that position, how can we appropriately deal with such a circumstance without like offending anyone, without being without being polite? Like, what would your advice be?
Point is, first of all, analyze any conflict you are in. Dissect that conflict as to why do you have this conflict. Where is the clash? Who is trying to superimpose for you what? So that's when your character will come, your ethics will come. So if there's a clash between two wrongs, then you're equally in the wrong. But if there's a clash between right and wrong, then right has to prevail. Then there is no conflict. It's a decision. Conflict happens when you have two conflicting egos or two conflicting wrongs. But if there's a conflict between right or wrong, there is no conflict because you are right. You stick to that. There's no conflict. Why are you in doubt? Conflict happens when you are in doubt. But where's the conflict if you've done the right thing? All you have to do is then communicate and present and deal with it with your own sense of experience and wisdom, and not aggravate the conflict. So conflict is only when you are in doubt. I've had many of these conflicts with certain more powerful people, but I knew what I was doing. I have nothing selfish motive. I have only sense of justice in it. And finally that prevailed. Even if the superior transferred me out for it. But what happens? There's no problem. This is his power to transfer me out. It was my duty to do that. I'm happy with my duty. You've done your transfer. I'm happy with my duty. I'm willing to take its consequences. But I'm not in doubt because I'm sure what I'm doing is the right thing to do. So every action of ours has a consequence. Supposing I'd fallen a prey and fallen and done the wrong as they wanted, wouldn't I have hurt my own self as well? And would I been happy within? Would I have excused myself? No. Here I'm happy. You've done what you could do in your power. I did what I thought was right. I could be wrong. I'm willing to learn. But in that conscience, there was no ego and unselfishness or lie or falsehood in it. And I'm happy. You do what is within your power. I am doing what I could do within my own capability and experience and senses. So this is how I would resolve, analyze the conflict and find out, are you at wrong? If you're at wrong, correct it. If you're not at wrong, then way of expression is important. How do you express it? That's where experience helps, and that's where guidance helps. You can then go back to your parents and your teacher to say, this is what I believe in. Ma'am, can you guide me? And then you are in the right. You can, ma'am, I did the right thing. This is what I feel like something's doing. Then the teacher will guide you. But you are not deviating from righteousness or correctness. And then you're proud of yourself. Because when you're happy and when you're doing, you feel proud. I did it. I was capable of standing. That's what confidence building is about. That's what character is about. That's what character building is about. Right? Okay, Saina, would you like to do the sum up? Because the time is up. We are already 7 plus.
Ji, scribbled everything. Okay. Children, AI is a very sharp tool. So use it skillfully. It's a tool, but it's very sharp. So don't just go use it. Use it skillfully. Develop nourishing habits. Are your habits nourishing you or not? Only you can tell. You've asked about character, righteousness, habits, skills. Something wonderful I'd read. You can't fight the demons if you're still enjoying their company. How are you going to fight the demons if you're enjoying their company? So you have to figure it out. It's your journey. The Almighty God must see you putting in the effort. You have to put in the human effort. You have to put in your effort for whatever you want to achieve. There are no shortcuts. And the last thing which I want to share with Navya, beta, a sense of conviction must lead to blessed clarity and inner peace. It must lead to that inner contentment, that sense of conviction, and knowing that you're holding your ground. And aggression is not always the way. Just holding your ground truthfully will show you the way forward. Each situation is going to be different. But if you've analyzed it, you've thought it through, you've looked at the future, you know why you're doing what you're doing, it must bring you inner peace. एंड वो आपको अपना रास्ता खुद दिखाएगी. ठीक है? Bless you. Bless you.
So
Bless
before we close the show, let me say thank you. Thank you to most of all to Dr. Anupam Jaga, who is your principal, whom I had a very, very good time. He was very hospitable, very nice, very caring, and very proud of all that he teaches and educates. So, Dr. Anupam Jaga, thank you. I know you're not in our group right now, but I hope you're listening. Want to thank you for making your school so beautiful, the Ranipur Haridwar DPS. And then of my friend Shalini Bhatnagar, who's a teacher, very passionate teacher, who enabled this, who stayed connected to see that her children and her school also connect like this. So I want to say thank you to your principal, once again to Anupam Jaga and Shalini Bhatnagar, your TPS principal, and all other faculty members and your friends who made this possible. I want to thank your demonstrative learning team who connected with you, like Shakira, Sujata, who else?
Shivani,
Shivani.
Shivani,
Shivani will stay
Sujata,
connected with you now. Shivani will stay
Shivani,
connected
Sujata, Shakira.
and Smith, who handles your info. So this I want to thank you, team, behind the scene, and they are behind the scene. Your leadership
आज
is behind the
सूर्य
scene,
कला, आज
and
सूर्य
Surya
कला.
Kala. So there's
Yes.
a very nice team which puts this together. Want to thank all of them and your school, the DPS Ranipur Haridwar. I hope it's been a productive session for you. Sanskriti, any one word before you go?
Ma'am, this session changed my viewpoint about several things in several aspects, and I guess I now know things from a different point of view.
Okay, Advait, you? Advait,
I am happy to learn new things from you.
Anshuma,
Ma'am, the mind management thing really got me that uh, it's a very essential skill and uh, something I would carry on with my life forward.
excellent. Shreya,
This was a lifetime experience for me, and the way you answered my question, I'd be forever grateful for that. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Nilansh,
Yes, ma'am, it was such an honor to talk to you, and we learned a lot from you. And like many the
Naya,
thing you
thank you.
like many
Naya,
the thing,
Navya,
Mom, like first I would really like wish to thank you for your advice. Like I could hear your advice, my juniors' advice, my peers' advice. That is a very like holistic experience for me. And one thing that I would remember would be that self audit thing. Like you go to bed, you remember the whole day. That's something I would like to incorporate in the future if I must say.
good. Now practice some of these learnings and share it with your family and your friends and your sisters and brothers and your class and your teachers, right? So through you, go and say thank you to your principal, Dr. Jaga, who's written some wonderful books. I saw his books. He's done a wonderful work. And Shalini, who's been most passionate teacher for you. Go and thank them on our behalf. Thank you.
जी,
Thank you.
थैंक यू.
And them
खुश
on
रहो
good day.
बच्चों. जयधारी माँ. हंसते खेलते रहो. खुश रहो. ऐसे ही खुश रहो. टेक केयर. लॉट्स ऑफ लव. हमारी